Is Syncthing Fork for F-Droid safe? I wouldn't use it now. They're saying get it from the Play Store. They're saying get it from the Play Store because to make the drama short and concise, Syncthing, the foundation, dropped Syncthing and the Android Syncthing app. They dropped it, and then someone picked it up and forked it and made Syncthing forked Android. And then about maybe 3 months ago, the original maintainer that was pretty much running the entire thing dropped out of nowhere and then exchanged the keys for the developer keys, to a new person without really telling anyone. Kind of exited. It was poorly handled, and people were like, "Yo, what the fuck?" And they kind of didn't think of it as a big deal, which is retarded because a lot of people rely on Syncthing. I haven't used Syncthing since then because of this, and the Syncthing that I was using, I have not updated. Because I don't like the idea of someone randomly just exchanging keys over to a different developer, like a different maintainer, and it's not. I wouldn't. And you would have to go into the discussion forum and see if it's been resolved if people think it's safe. But I didn't like how it was handled. It kind of made me annoyed. And it's not because it's free, blah blah blah, just whatever. I don't like the idea of using something that has that much access and control, because you are giving a ton of access and control. Now, there is ways you can run Syncthing via I2P with no centralized servers and only connected to your devices, where you're not using the global relay services. Even though it's encrypted, there's a way you can use it via I2P, which is pretty sick. But it's kind of there's a guide out there, I can't remember where, but I am going to Proxmox backup server, and then I think Syncthing is a great product. I just don't like what they did. If that answers all your questions, I don't know. Asking if it's safe is kind of a hard question, because I'm not a developer. I can't read code, but when I see exchanges happen, I'm not really a fan of that, personally. And it's happened before, where there was a major application that exchanged keys with another developer, and it was actually a malicious takeover. It's a little complicated. I forget the exact app, but it's not good. I think they could have handled it better. They could have just said, "Hey, I'm stepping down. I'm stepping away." Some people said that they wish that Syncthing's foundation, the core developers, would just. I think the problem is they can't find someone to maintain it full time. They may not got the money or something, or it might be a costing or whatever. It's something. So my suggestion would be them to just take ownership of it and allow people to contribute. Or find as for funding, I mean, I love Syncthing. I would fund it. There's truly not a good alternative. There's WebDAV. If you have a WebDAV server, you can kind of achieve the same thing, but there's really not a good alternative, unfortunately. Back to on my conclusions, Google is retarded. Might pass the 10-second mark. Google is pretty fucking retarded So I try reproducing the ability to. I try reproducing the results of getting a pretty relatively anonymous Google account. It's not necessarily super easy. It's even under like a public IP address where it's not fishy looking. They still they're like, hey, scan this device. So I think the safest option is to just do it on Graphene OS in a web browser that isn't linked to anything that you purchase with cash, and not on your Wi-Fi, maybe on a public Wi-Fi. And then obviously Graphene OS is like superior like privacy with connecting to Wi-Fi. With its MAC randomization, it's probably the best option that we have in terms of getting an anonymous Play Store. There's not really a concrete answer. It's relatively sad, but you know, I don't got Graphene OS. Well, you could do it on Android in a sense. Like, you just got to do it from the web browser. I mean, and then I would do smspool.net. They're really good. They work. They worked when I tried it. They accept Monero. They accept Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash. I mean, there's enough options out there where you can get a relatively anonymous number. I got a silent link number that I'm going to test some stuff out on how it works. It's just because it's a eSIM only. It's a little goofy. Nice. When we're sailing the seas for Gen 2 on Xbox 360 Yarg, what is that? What's Xbox 360 Yarg? Is this? That's like a pirate sound. It sucks that there's not enough like very weird distributions out there. Billy, just quit being a bitch and get Graphene OS and stop using SAM shit. Let's do a new identity. It kind of sucks because there isn't really a way for me to kind of like show my process via when is Pantera Linux coming to shops? That'd be awesome. There's not really a way for me to like replicate the phone set. There is. It's just on Graphene, like the screen resolution is really bad. Is there a way to run Graphene OS in a virtual machine? Would be Pantera BSD because GNU Linux is GPL. Yeah, but Pantera ripped off another band, so they would be Linux. A virtual machine. Is this possible? I don't think it'll get the same like security benefits, but I could maybe show the process. The thing is, I like checking out like random decentralized options out there when it comes to when it comes to when it kind of comes to like, God damn, Tor is slow. Let me just restart this shit. Tor's been really slow for me lately. It's kind of weird. Like, it's been like painfully slow. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's my ISP throttling it or Tor's just dog shit right now. The fuck? Damn. What is up with Tor? Do I have an update? Let's see. I forget I have a rolling release sometime. Void Linux. Yeah, it's building. It's so weird. Building DKMS. I've never had an issue. Oh, okay, there we go. What is okay? Can I run Graphene OS in a virtual machine? Alright, I spelled that wrong. Oh well. Nice, okay. That's done. Yes, you'll be able to run GrapheneOS on a virtual machine as virtualization support is being actively developed and is expected to be available soon. This will allow you to run traditional virtual machines on devices. Okay. He's a sudo. Get him. CubesOS is a desktop graphics engine. What? Here's a pointer building GrapheneOS Android. Android virtual VM. Isn't there a way to better Billy? I wonder if there's a way to do this. It's probably malware. Shut that down. Okay. All right. We're going I2P route. Well, actually, we're gonna go. Okay, maybe Tor's done being a bitch. I'm gonna get some water. We will explore more deep web stuff. Whoo! So weird. I never had a issue with connecting to Tor. Big Monero? Yeah. Tor's being weird. Oh, maybe it's because they have bridges on. That would make sense. Alright. I'm going to get a new identity, restart. Beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna look for some I'm selling the fresh water of clinical insanity. That's why you touch grass, man. It's always a good thing to step back. When I first got into privacy, I was like looking at my blinds every 30 seconds, thinking I was doing something illegal. But I think this is a societal problem because we're so used to like thinking that like hiding something you're doing a crime or something, but you're really not. Privacy is fundamentally a human right. What is it called? Darknet. Dark Web Daily.net. No, .live. I do got to check out Onion Spray so that it can mirror my blog just immediately. That'd be kind of sick. I believe that's what it is. And then we're going to look at right there. Use a radar stack here. Create a VM. Oh, yeah. Get Ubuntu server. All right. I'm gonna do some search. Yo, Brave Search has a fucking onion search. Interesting. I don't know what shoot is. Torgle. And then Pitch is pretty cool. I've been on Pitch a couple times. It's like kind of like Twitter, but not as cancerous. This is an anonymous email service. Blockchain Explorer, hidden services. Whonix. Oh, Whonix doesn't have their option anymore. Create VM. Is Cubes really 7 gigs? Downloading ISO now, it says 20 minutes to download, 7 gigs. Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, Cubes is pretty heavy. It's you got to remember, it's also the downloading server that you're using as well. I'm doing 2 things at once, guys. I'm setting up a virtual machine to redo my media server so I can legally get legal Linux ISOs to serve to people. CubesOS is, I mean, it's a pretty thick dish. It's a pretty thick hypervisor. Ooh, hidden Bitcoin wiki. The Onion Thumbs, the dark web thumbnail provider. Interesting. Dark web wiki. Ad hook. Torgle. Are you in a VM within a VM? I am in a VM with a VM. Within a VM. On a VM. I would even say that you should be watching this in a VM while I surf on a VM. because I have a second monitor, I might. My goal is to run a Tor node using a Pi 4. You should do a guard relay. Don't do an exit. Do like the middle. It's very easy. I think everyone should, and you should run I2P as well, like I am right now. Because fuck my ISP. I hate them. Wow, look, Brave via Tor. Interesting. What should we ask Brave? I love these. Expert.com. Oh my god. I love these. I love these sites. Why are these sites? This is what I'm saying, man. The click economy, the affiliate economy, fucking ruined the internet. It makes me angry. Ah, Jesus Christ. They're like sponsored. No, you just have. These are all just fucking affiliate links. Hide my ass. Surfshark. I should just make my own VPN. I've been trying to roll out my own distro called Tor Ubuntu, but it was Delusional Edition. You could, I mean, you can do this. You can. There's something called it's like an Ubuntu Live ISO that allows you to package your own version of Ubuntu. I should make my own VPN, my own VPN and Linux distro based on Ubuntu or like Debian, and just have it nothing but pictures of furries in the temp file. Every time you open, I wonder how do you do that again? There was like a long time ago. I was like looking at like how to your own Linux. I hear it's a nightmare to package and update everything though. Okay. Select the compression file from the Linux system. There's a lot of Linux distributions. I hate this. Reject all. I like the reject all option. There's a lot of Linux distributions out there, each suited for a different goal and purpose. Linux being open source allows anyone. There's these customized Linux can be anything as simple as changing the default wallpaper, all the way up to the kernel tweaks, package management improvements, independent distributions based on other distributions. Examples of independent Linux distributions are Debian, Fedora, Slackware, OpenSUSE, Gentoo. Examples of distributions based on other distributions include Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and Manjaro. Linux Mint, for example, is based on Ubuntu. We say based because the Linux Mint developers do not package all the packages in its repositories on their own. Instead, most of the packages are provided by the Linux Mint users, same in the package. Ubuntu in turn is based on Debian. Debian provides more than 60,000 binary packages in its repositories, and the reproducing packages from scratch is a giant effort for you to make. This is why I almost always build their customized Linux distributions on other Linux distributions instead of starting from scratch. They save themselves huge time and effort by doing so. A guide called Linux from Scratch to bring all the needed software components to make Linux distribution from the ground up. Do not reinvent the wheel. The easy way. An open source called Cubic is the most common way these build customized Linux distributions of Ubuntu. You can learn more about it from the GitHub page. I forgot it was GitHub. Cubic. I forgot it was Cubic. Is this still updated? Ooh, this hasn't. Is a GUI wizard to create a custom live isometric of Ubuntu and Debian-based distributions. Oh. Cubic runs on distributions on Cubic can be used to customize live ISOs for all versions of Ubuntu. Huh. Hit this button, you'll create a working file. Add the selected folder you want to simply create one now. After you select the based ISO file of your Linux distribution, you will see that a lot of info is displayed in these text boxes in the screen. So let's see which distribution. Okay. Is the version you want to release to your distribution? You can follow the version scheme you want. Basically, this is the simple terminal where you can customize new Linux distribution, add, remove anything you want from it. You can also drag and drop files from your file manager to make to the terminal, copy, paste them into your current terminal working directory. Happens. You can also replace the default Linux kernel with your distribution with Liquorix kernel, for example, if you want to for better gaming EFF gonna torrent taking too long. F it, I'm gonna torrent it taking too long. Bro, it's 20 minutes, you'll be okay. Enable ZRAM on Linux to get better system performance. That's funny. The possibilities of endless. You can do all the modifications you want from that terminal window. You can learn more about this part from the Cubics wiki. The next part will let you default compression algorithm used in your ISO image. Okay. Oh. Kernels. Then you will. If you didn't install any further additional kernels. Interesting. It went from 20 minutes to 1 day. Oh, okay. Some of these algorithms can generate smaller ISO files in sizes like XZ, but the boot time later on, just during the installation time, will be longer because its deprecursor will take longer time for installations. After it's done, you will see the following: Noble Foss ISO, Foss Post ISO. Interesting. You can see that the ISO file is now ready to usage. In addition to MD5 checksum exists. MD5 checksum are used to make sure that the integrity of the ISO file is not damaged while transferring data over the network, like the internet. For example, if you distribute your ISO for file users, you can give them this small number file so they can make sure the ISO file is not damaged. The hard way. The other hard ways exist. Users for those wishing to apply further modifications. For this test, we recommend using Pop! OS ISO builder scripts. Pop! OS is a Linux distribution developed on System 76 based on Ubuntu. They've released their ISO build scripts free on GitHub. You can study the repository for scripts testing the distribution. Remasters remained the de facto way to build Ubuntu based on distributions from 20,000 up to 2014 was discontinued. The developer had a bit of resource towards the community. The version asked for 50. Okay, Oh, this is from 25. I do not accept. Tools like GenISO, XOR, or Calamari's graphical installer will help you prepare for the system distribution. This guy didn't really tell me shit. Oh, config package list, add branding. Edit configures config. Okay. Are you for building embedded Linux systems? Arch ISO allows you to create a custom Arch live Linux. Ubuntu customization, Cubic system back. Limited to Ubuntu based. Wonder what system back is. Yeah, I should make a I was just running Tor on a bunch of disposable Podman containers. Interesting. Motherfucker. How to build your own Linux distribution. Independent distributions. These are built from the ground up with their own repositories, infrastructure. They don't rely on any other distributions for the core packages. Well-known examples include Debian, Fedora, Gentoo, Slackware, and OpenSUSE. These have full control and flexibility. Divide their child distributions. These start with another distribution as their foundation. The most accessible way is by modifying an existing user-friendly distro. Mental has a pretty gold video on how to roll your own Ubuntu WSL custom distribution tailoring Linux for Windows. Fuck WSL though. Technically, Tom's install automated partition packing. Okay, repositories, kernel. Building Linux distributed with alternative languages, Rust and beyond. Creating a Linux distro for Windows. Interesting. I want to do it on Void though. I don't know if I remember seeing Mental Outlaw's video on that. Seems pretty cool, if it is true. It's probably Cubic, the Linux code. The Linux code. Brother, what? Are these pop-ups on? I swear these are not actual Linux blogs. Their pop-ups are so fucking bad that it would like. Well, 700 plus packages of LFS guides cover the indicated depth at a high level, building from. Jesus Christ. These ads, man. Downloading, compiling, cross-compiling binary glibs, installing Linux kernel source code, configuring kernel parameters and compile with toolchain, installing packages like GNOME utilities, configure bootloader, grubbing your so you can see the walkthrough, assembling Linux components, compilers, libraries, kernel completely from the source code. Let's break down. Your fledgling Linux distros need disk-related ELO state. I would like to do LFS again. LFS was really cool. I got like halfway through it and it was not good. VPNs. It's just a bunch of VPNs. Peer-to-peer network for the dark net. Dedicated peer-to-peer networks are alternatives for who primarily use Tor to access the dark net. I2P, guys. ZeroNet. Don't use ZeroNet. It's Does this guy look real? Studied business informatics and computer science in Germany. Has been self-employed since 2006 and is the founder of Expert.com. He writes about hosting, software, and IT security. Yeah. He writes about affiliate marketing. That's what he writes about. It's crazy. I know there's a Monero Observer that talks about some new stuff. Huh. Just F12 on the browser and see the source code. Isn't it a new site? It doesn't have any logic. There's no software there to provide a source code. It's just content. So CC license seems right. Couldn't find the answer when MC update will take effect on update on the Trezor and Measure uses. XM, the Monero faucet. Does this mean that people can get free Moneros? Do you think that like Bitcoin faucets were like kind of a thing at one point? You could just go to it and it would just spit out Bitcoin, like a massive amount. Like sometimes like $5-6, and at the time this was like pennies. I am human. StageNet coins testing. Wonder. So I'm newbie here and I wanted to just test everything works, but I found no faucets for StageNet, so I decided to write my own. Honestly, website is kind of vibe coded and shit coded because I'm horrible at front end. But I tried to make it as simple and private as possible. A bit later, I'll try to make a test on I'd be happy. Any feedback? Add a donation address? Hell yeah. Seems like something. It is kind of interesting. The Monero Pulse. I'll check that out later. A small vulnerability with Monero. If you're sending Monero to another person's wallet, the transaction uses 16's ringtone, including the... Huh? Sky Wallet, Android and Linux, Tor WLS settings. Oh, okay. Random X v2. Random X is not abandoned. It's still planned for the next Monero network upgrade. The new algorithm will include a hash random X commitments for faster verification. CoinGate crypto payments in 2025. The supposed non-fungible of Monero's post-Kara is terrible argument. Age verification is spreading like cancer. We know that. That's not good. Monerotopia 2026. MoneroCon looks super cool. I just can't go to it because it's fucking Poland. And it's just at a weird time. We'll go back to some security. The OPSEC manual. Maybe. How to remain anonymous during a protest. Wow, it's probably good. This is probably a good read right now. So if people people come across, especially with all the protests going on now. You just turned on your TV and saw that there is a protest near the White House because the government decided that end-to-end encryption leads to terrorism and there are passing laws to ban it. You feel patriotic and know that it isn't right. You show up to the protest without telling anyone. For a few hours, you get back home and home proud that you showed your support to the people. However, the police bangs on your door and arrests you for taking part of the protest. Phones are tracking devices for law enforcement. Government, internet service providers, cellular network providers all find out where you are with the help of your device in emitting and receiving radio waves. These entities use various methods to track you down at any given time, called geofencing. This is something that I do think about on a fundamental level. When people bring up the number part with Signal, if you have a mobile provider in your phone, they know who you are at some point. They don't know who you are if you pay in cash, but they know who you are, if that makes sense. I mean, there are tons of metadata leaks that are far worse than the phone number itself. So people that bring up the arbitrary, they have a phone number required attached to it. The phone number could be anything. It could be attached to anyone. It doesn't really matter as long as you're good with your OPSEC in perspective. And the problem with Signal's, the biggest problem with Signal is they, I guess on a simplistic level, haven't really backed down from that perspective. Some people think that that is a bad thing, and there could be a bad thing about it from the simple fact that it's another attack surface that you have to have, but you can just give out your username, and that username could be the only thing that is public, like where you don't show like your phone number to your friends or your contacts or anything. So you are still required in most, if not all scenarios, your own safeguard of security and your own safeguard of privacy. You have to be in control of it. It's like doing anything with crypto. You are the bank, so you need to safeguard the keys, you need to safeguard your seed phrase, and you need to be responsible at the end of the day. So my general advice is that Graphene OS won't save you from you making some oopsies and leaking as much metadata, and the law enforcement obtaining this from legally abiding companies that are going to abide by the law at the end of the day. They're not going to fall on a sword for you. In hindsight, if you go to a protest, you shouldn't bring your phone at all. It doesn't matter if you're running Graphene OS, if it doesn't matter if you're running the most secure lockdown phone. And then anyone who's suggesting you bring a flip phone that you bought for $20 and a phone number with it, XYZ, whatever, that's retarded. They're just as bad. They can be triangulated, and they can figure out who owns them because they'll track you down. That's all it is. Now, 5G, in terms of 5G, 4G, 3G, 2G, 2G has almost like near to no encryption. 3G, I believe, is breakable encryption as well, so that's like another problem that we have. And they will do at these protests called downgrade attacks, where they're trying to downgrade you to lower versions of the cellular network that is unencrypted and way more insecure. So your better option is to actually, if you go to a protest, which I think people fundamentally have a right to do, and they should exercise this right, especially if they have a dissatisfaction with the government. Don't bring your phone at all. That is the best option. That is probably the only option in terms of the highest level threat model. If you don't want people to know that you're there, dress in pretty much like the standard colors, like black, whatever. Cosplay Boogaloo, Electric Boogaloo 2, whatever, and just bring a DSLR camera and then move on. I wouldn't upload those to the internet because it could be potentially some OPSEC mistakes, but you can get something called a metadata scrubber that will scrub all the metadata off of it, and then you could theoretically, if you wanted to get out of there and upload your pictures of the protests of law enforcement and a bunch of bootlicking cucks stomp on their citizens. So that's the general advice that I have for people. Your best option is zero phone. It doesn't matter how secure it is, how locked down it is, but if you are going to bring your phone, remove your SIM card. Remove your SIM card. Maybe use a peer-to-peer way to chat with people, like via Signal and public Wi-Fi, I guess, and make sure it's Graphene OS because it has really good MAC randomization when it's connecting to public Wi-Fi. That could be an option because Signal uses the internet to traverse, so this could be potentially the safest way. So if you all get anonymous prepaid numbers to register with Signal, you could, in theory, just connect to Wi-Fi that's around you, especially in a metropolitan area. There's probably like a Starbucks or Buffalo Wild Wings or a fucking something around there, Whataburger, whatever people have in their city that has free public Wi-Fi. Connect to that and then communicate as much as possible. I know people want to live stream everything, but it's probably not the best option. Just, food for thought. Think there is no current, Graphene OS has a lot of protections. You could do you could obviously set up maybe if it is needed or wanted, I could do a simple update on how to run Graphene OS during a protest, like how I think that it should be ran. But I would have to think about it a lot, and the research that would have to go into it to make sure that it's not misleading anyone into a false sense of security. I think in most cases you should not bring your phone, but if you're going to, the best option is probably zero SIM card, Duras PIN, and no personal information on the device at all. You should back up it with the seed vault, unfortunately, then wipe your device and run it as stock. I could just boil that down in less than 5 minutes for a video for people kind of to do that. But that is something to that I would have to think about in the future, especially with people putting their lives in perspective into it. Just food for thought though. So phones are tracking devices for law enforcement, and TDLR leave your phone at home and dress in all black, and that's honestly the best option. So this is where multi-cellular towers are used geometrically, locate a device connecting or pinning them by measuring the strength of the connection. This is actually just a, what do you call it? This is just a byproduct of how towers work. They want to make sure that you connect to the closest tower and you're going to be always connected and efficient. I believe it's when we were looking how cellular networks work, that was kind of it. Like, this is how cellular networks work, and this is how they actually keep you connected to the internet. It's kind of impressive, but I digress. Nice. So you have the Starbucks router, the salesman's phone, you, Burger Pawn Shop's router, Alex's phone, Katie's phone, kind of like. There's Wi-Fi triangulation. More towers present around you equal more accurate location. That's true. Towers even at a distance of 5 miles, you can be used to triangulate you precisely. Wi-Fi routers often interact with together, especially when they are from the same ISP. When your device recognizes a Wi-Fi network nearby, which allows them to determine if the signal strength of even the router, they can be used to geometrically determine your device's location based on how strong the nearby signal is, even when you're not connected to it. 2 routers are enough to track you precisely to 6 feet error. You're surrounded by tens of them. On Android and Apple devices, Wi-Fi can obviously be used to geofence you with GPS through Google or Apple Network Location Provider (NLP) service, making it easier to geolocate your device. GPS, your phone constantly searches for satellite connections, global positioning systems. Both Android and Google devices use Google service for GPS queries. This happens even if you do not connect your phone to Wi-Fi or cellular data. A GPS stands for Assisted GPS. When the SUP GPS service works with one device GPS model to even efficient location tracking, blocking the service greatly impacts cellular data connectivity and disables location service on your device. You can read more about issues of SUPL and how to disable it in Magic's Super Replace repo. Unless your phone is powered off in a Faraday bag, wherever you go, there exists a parameter recorded where a phone has been, and that recorded is known by law enforcement entities. Prevention: stay anonymous outdoors. Anonymity is when you are amongst a group of people and you are indistinguishable from the other members. Like, it was a guy in a black hoodie and glasses, wearing all black, long sleeve t-shirts, paint socks, gloves, mask, no jewelry, no necklace, wearing Easter. Dress up such as that you're always ready for a run. Do not touch surfaces with bare hands. Do not carry weapons, signal jammers, or any such device that makes you in trouble with the court. Shouldn't, but you should practice your Second Amendment still. How to have a phone for anonymous? Graphene OS. Yep. Public use profile, private use phone, anonymous profile, intended for use in enemies. The safest and simplest way to stay anonymous is keep your phone at home. That's true. Expired above. Deniability where you claim you stayed at home during the protests. Best preferred Android ROM is Graphene OS. It's not a ROM, by the way. It is technically a fork. If you really need a secondary phone and is compatible with Lineage OS and is Linux, you can proceed with it. You will need to make changes to Lineage OS firewall, blocks supple Google, but it won't even close to Graphene in terms of security. Yeah, Lineage is not good. Preparation: using a mini PC to flash Graphene OS on a Pixel phone. Only proceed if you get one. Get a decent Faraday review of a Faraday bag on Amazon. You can just, I believe, Graphene OS is isn't it Antifa? Maybe. I believe when I was reading on Graphene OS is how they, when you disable all these sensors, that it's the same thing as a Faraday bag. There is no proof that these can be overridden unless your phone is compromised. But if your phone is compromised, it doesn't really matter. It'll just wait. Law enforcement will just wait till you take it out of a Faraday bag if your device is compromised. So you don't have to get a Faraday bag. They're kind of, you can just wrap your phone in tinfoil. It's essentially the same thing, I believe. I know you're kidding. But from what I understand from talking to the Graphene OS developers and Android developers and people that work on the project in general, and just reading on how the disabling of location, the microphone, the sensors, the Bluetooth scanning, the Wi-Fi scanning, all the sensors, and it pretty much put it in airplane mode. It's the same thing. It's just as effective. People can correct me all they want, but they'll pull out some esoteric bullshit thing that they like on a wiki article, or like an article from like one guy who had probably bad OPSEC at the end of the day, because if you put an airplane mode, it's essentially off. It's not. You can't make a call. It's not sending anything out. It's not sending anything in. This is why you can't make calls. You can't. Try to find try to make it usable. But then they say there's this secret hidden law enforcement government fucking attack surface that you just don't know about, and I don't know. It's just clown town at that point. Then don't bring your phone. Use sites like Open Wi-Fi Map through Tor to peer scan for free Wi-Fi around it. Protest and secondary. Do not connect to any Wi-Fi or cellular network. Now switch your phone off immediately and put it in a fairy bag. Make sure it's completely sealed. It's good to cover in disguise and fairy bag as normal as The fairy bag is only use a fairy bag at all times to store your secondary phone when you don't need to use it. Use accessing internet anonymously. Use Hunix VM or Tails for Monero. Purchase Silent Link. That hidden attack service is Intel, but for PC, it's not a hidden attack. Intel Management System is a actual tool that's used in like IT infrastructure. You can just big alien news coming this year, hopefully. Intel Management System it's just a tool that can be exploited. You can disable it though. There's ways to disable it, but there's no benefit. Ugh. People worry more about Intel Management System than they worry about actual reduction. Now install the Google Service Framework, Google Play Services, enable eSIM, connect to mobile network, download your eSIM, download, finish. Boom. Make sure to enable it for data. Don't forget to remove both Google services and that you downloaded earlier. So you just need to install it, the Google Play services, in order for it to make it work. And then you can remove it. Make sure you're doing this. You're not under any security surveillance cameras, law enforcement buildings. Once you validate the eSIM works, power off the device and wait. Although eSIM method works well, you need to remember that the moment you activate the system's start tower triangulation right away, doing it anywhere close to your location, interest might potentially risky. You also need to be careful not to switch it on your own home by any chance, or you could have the bag at your door soon. This is why it's best to use open public Wi-Fi. That's true. To carry both your personal and primary secondary phone at the same time. Accessing the anonymously public Wi-Fi. And then some other stuff. Simple X chat has disappearing message. That would be a good option. Physical OPSEC. Body language. Do not tell anyone your real name. Do not verbally talk about your protest at home. Never near devices. Simple X chat should be the only place you talk about protests. Yeah. Do not share personal information, address, phone number, birth year, family background with anyone. When going outside, do not go to a location that holds significance to you. Do not go to a location that is near law enforcement. Yeah, these are pretty good. How to write good criticism. Stick to what was said and accurately explain what was missed and what should have been explained. Message to everyone who wrote you and go ahead. If you are closer to the truth than we are, we're more than welcome to tell us and why you want to get your point across efficiently. Nobody knows everything. That's true. Refuting the central point. Explicify that refutes the central point. Refutation, ad hominem, name calling. finds the mistake and explains why it's mistakenly using quotes. Counterargument contradicts and then backs it up with reasoning. States the opposite in case will not support them. Oh, counterargument. Once my cubes is installed, I'm clocking out. Nice reading, man. Good. Welcome to Cubes, brother. And name calling sounds something like you're an asshat. You can call someone an asshat and be right, though. First of all, it matters maturity. If you're an adult, your ego is still in the way. Refer to some to fix it, because otherwise you're most likely going to be incapable of stopping yourself to resort at him on the way. No, there's definitely people you can call a retard and be right. You can call someone retarded and be right. I think this is like copium level. Are you going to get anywhere with it? Probably not. But also, I've been in debates with people where I don't call them retarded, and they're wrong, and they still don't. Nothing changes. This is true. This is true. This is truth. Please consider this before type. This is true. No, actually, I understand. Well, there's no absolute truth, but there's no such thing as absolute truth. But there is this OpSec's Bible made by one person or a group of? I think it's a group of authors. I think it's a really ignorant take where it's like there's this meme where two people are standing at the number 9, and they're trying to be deep and like thoughtful, and it's just really retarded at the end of the day. They're like, well, they're like, both people are right. It's just their perspective. No, there is truth. There are absolute truths in the world that we can confirm and repeat. And if you go up to the person who wrote the 9 or the 6, you just ask them, what was your intentions of writing this? If they say their intentions was 6, then it's fucking 6 at the end of the day. It's like 2 + 2 = 4, my buddy. I think there are absolute truths, like in some aspect of life and the world, where we repeat these processes, and they are definitely repeatable, and that makes them relatively the most true for the most part. Obviously, in privacy and security, it's always going to shift because new technology is going to emerge. So this is kind of a hard industry for people to have opinions about everything. These things are coming down to, like, people, again, using Faraday bags. Sure, it's kind of like a safer than sorrier kind of thing. But if you're running Graphene OS or Android that respects the permission model that Android offers, you can just put it in airplane mode and you'll be fine. But then, again, people, asshats bring up, like, I actually read this story where somebody had their phone off in the middle of nowhere, and they turned it on and they found him. And it's like, all right, cool. I don't believe you. I know there's remote ways to turn on your device no matter what you say. I just can't. It's always listening, even if it's off. Even if it's been disproven. Like, that's the problem. So you run into asshats like that, and then you're like, you suck. No one likes you. You smell. But that's okay. It's cool to be, extra paranoid, extra cautious. Responding to the tone. You can also criticize how arrogantly I wrote that. And how I pretend to know more than you, but still, even though you're not addressing the actual content, again, all you're doing is just noise still. Okay, that's weird. Contradiction. Privacy is actually binary. You're either being watched or you're not being watched. You may be being watched by 100 different adversaries right now on Windows or Mac OS, regardless of how configure your Google Chrome Safari. Privacy is definitely not there for you. If you're being watched by one adversary, privacy is also non-existent for you. All it takes is to tolerate. I think we'll just have to agree to in case we both understand each other's opinion. Implying that being spied on by the government or corporations is acceptable when in fact it's not. This is also known as the minimization fallacy. The other extremes of this type of fallacy would be spreading FUD. in like this article. Interesting. It's huh. The amount of energy needed to refer. Yeah, I agree with the. Get with a couple of. Interesting. I agree that there is a lot of FUD in the privacy and security space, and it's very difficult to actually shift through all of it, like one by one. I don't pretend to like I know everything, but I do see a lot of repeated stuff that people like to bring up or come across. It's my first issue is people that do think that their government, maybe at least in the U.S., like the U.S., is spying on them. I think that privacy is a scale. It's different for everyone. If you have one person spying on you, yeah, you're being spied on, but that one person might be irrelevant to you, might not matter. This makes the assumption these make, I believe, in a sense, make assumptions that people need to care about every aspect of their life. That would be very tiring and very gay, in the broad sense. Let's take Techlore for example. They're a privacy and security channel, yet their face is revealed, so we know what Henry looks like. We know Henry's name, and I think Techlore has talked about this in the past, where he wishes he didn't do that. But does that mean that Techlore's not doing a good to give other people information to become more private and have better security decisions? No, because that'd be silly. Same thing with Mental Outlaw. His face has been revealed. Even though he's a FOSS advocate and probably cares about privacy on a fundamental level, his face is now public. You could go down the list of like channels that like do this. But does that mean that they don't care about privacy? That they don't relatively have a good level of privacy now? They do. I mean, they know people know what they look like and they have huge channels, but they could still maintain that level of privacy and still advocate for, I guess, like a threat model kind of like basis. And I always say that your threat model is like the most important. I just kind of like reject the premise of like it's either 100% you're in or you're out kind of thing. I believe that's unrealistic until we have some good privacy laws out there that actually protect you. And you should just do what you think is best for you. Because there's going to be people out there that are going to have like opinions. But I do see this happen a lot. Is a lot of people bring up the same stuff that's like either very outdated or maybe it doesn't apply to them in a sense. It's kind of to me, privacy is a scale. It's like it scales depending on where you're at in life. Some people don't care. Some people do. I think you should care, and I think you should think about it. But that's what I think. It doesn't matter what I think. I'm not living your life. And I could give like a million examples, like people that get password managers, or you're the IT guy that like in your house and you have like a server and you're self-hosting everyone. If you lose someone's data, they're gonna have a fucking stroke. You lose your data, you're gonna have a stroke. You do. I mean, it's a scale. I would never tell someone to manage the type of stuff that I do. I have a lot of steps I have to do to get to places and be efficient. And to me, it's fun. I like it, but not for everyone else. But, guys, I've given you an hour and 15 minutes. I will need to go work more on this video. I will see you guys in the next live stream. Don't forget to comment below your favorite type of sandwich. If you don't, 500 years of bad luck. I appreciate everyone stopping by. Good luck with Cubes OS. Jay, make sure you drop based Cubes OS pictures. Code, thanks for stopping by as well. I appreciate y'all. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night. Bye.